Bienvenue à la réunion numéro 35 du comité permanent des anciens combattants. La réunion d'aujourd'hui se déroule sous forme hybride, conformément à l'ordre adopté de la Chambre le 23 juin 2022. Les députés peuvent participer en personne au...
Members, as I was saying, may participate in person or over the Zoom application. In order to make sure today's meeting goes smoothly, here are a few comments. Please wait until I recognize you by name before speaking. For those participating and members asking questions, please say who your question is directed towards. Please go through the chair when speaking. And I wish to inform committee members that the witnesses did conduct sound checks before the meeting. As per our motion, we can now welcome our witnesses first by thanking them for participating. First, we have the City of Ottawa Veterans Task Force. We have André Tivierge, co-founder and co-chair major, retired major, by video conference. From Garda World Security Corporation, we also have Jean-Luc Meunier, President and Chief Operating Officer, Security Services Canada. Colleen Arnold, Vice President, Corporate Affairs. Mr. Simon Bernier, National Director, Innovation and Technologies, and from the National Association of Career Colleges, Michael Sangster, Chief Executive Officer. So for each group, I will give you 5 minutes for your opening remarks, and please look up at me once in a while. This way I can let you know when your time is up. With that, I would like to start online with Mr. Tivierge. You have the floor for the next 5 minutes. Go ahead, Mr. Tivierge.
Your microphone, excuse me, Monsieur Tivierge, votre micro, s'il vous plaît.
Your microphone, please.
OK, merci, Monsieur le Président.
Voilà.
Madame les députés et Messieurs les députés, je vous remercie de...
The interpreter notes that the sound quality coming from the current speaker is not sufficient for interpretation to be provided. Interpretation will resume as soon as the sound quality allows it.
To interrupt, but we're hearing from the interpreters that the sound isn't right.
OK?
Vous pouvez continuer, donc on va nous...
You can continue, and we'll make sure that interpretation works. Please go ahead, Mr. Tivierge. As noted earlier, the interpreter notes that the sound quality coming from the current speaker is not sufficient for interpretation to be provided, and interpretation will resume as soon as possible.
Carrière, en fait.
Monsieur Tivierge, excusez-moi, on est en train de régler des petits problèmes.
I'm sorry, Mr. Tivierge, we're just fixing some connection problems. All right.
OK. D'accord. Monsieur Tivierge.
Mr. Tivierge, my apologies for interrupting. What we're going to do is we're going to start with the others in the room and then go back to you to give technicians the chance to fix the interpretation problems. So I'm sorry, you will get your 5 minutes later.
Merci, le Président.
Merci, Monsieur Tivierge. Merci de votre compréhension.
Thank you, Mr. Tivierge, for your understanding. So now from the Garda World Security Corporation, I'd like to invite Mr. Meunier, President and Chief Operating Officer, to take the floor for the next 5 minutes. Go ahead.
D'avoir invité Garde Award à la rencontre d'aujourd'hui.
Thank you for welcoming us to your meeting. It's a very important one for the national strategy on what's going to for the future. First, please let me tell you a little bit about ourselves. Our story began years ago when Canadian entrepreneur Stéphane Crétier saw an opportunity in the market for security services and founded the company. Today, from our headquarters in Montreal, Garda World has grown into a global leader, and we employ 35,000 Canadians across the country. Our company is entrusted every day with delivering critical contracts for the Government of Canada, from airport security screening with CATSA to immigration holding centres and several other services.
Veterans employment. It's based on the fact that, in our experience, veterans are exceptional employees. We have veterans at all levels of the organization, including our Chief Operating Officer. In 2019, Garda World received the Veteran Employment Transition Award at the annual celebration of service on Parliament Hill. This award was presented in recognition of the company's effort in hiring veterans, reservists, and their spouse. All security companies want to hire more veterans. After all, there's a natural alignment between having served and working in security. Here are some of the initiatives we have taken to support veterans' employments. We have developed a Veteran Advisory Board led by my colleague Simon Bernier at my left here, who served in the force for 10 years. The board ensures that our veterans' unique needs are met, whether it's by simplified access to top-notch mental health support or the flexibility to continue their service in the reserve. We also have preferred hiring policies for veterans. We also add specific trainings for our recruiters on military CVs terminology, and we work with trusted partners such as True Patriot Loves and with Glowing Hearts. Veterans employment is a complex subject with many facets and challenges, and as you already have heard, there is no one-size-fits-all solution. We would like to share with you a few suggestions we think could support veterans' employment after service. First, an increased alignment with Canadian forces to plan for post-service opportunities. Second, implement military-friendly accreditation for businesses like ours, providing veterans the confidence of knowing that these businesses can meet their needs, thereby shifting the burden of after-service employment to businesses rather than veterans. And finally, the modernization of the right of first refusal for guard services known as the RFR. Due to its complexity, I will spend more time on this matter, considering the important impact and positive result this reform can accomplish, including the potential saving to the government. These considerable savings could be reallocated to support all Canadian veterans in their transition to civilian life. As you may know, the RFR gives the Corps Commissionaires, I will call them the Corps, for whom the committee heard last week, a virtual monopoly on the protection of federal buildings. Of the 600-plus veterans in Canada today, the Corps employs 4,400 of them, which represent only 1% of the veteran population. As the community heard from the commissionaires itself, despite expanding the definition of veterans and reducing the threshold of hours required to be worked by veterans from 70% in 2014 to 60% in 2016, the Corps remained unable to meet its mandate, with only 38% of the hours currently being worked by veterans on federal contracts. Despite this, the RFR monopoly with the commissionaires remain in place. Notre industrie croit fermement que le temps est venu.
Our industry knows that the time has come to reform the right of first refusal so that veterans can choose themselves where they want to work and how. All security companies would have the best access to veterans and would allow veterans to be able to benefit from all the benefits in the field. There's also a system that could better work for everybody. In that way, that would mean more opportunities for all, more diversity in security services, and would allow the Government of Canada to save a lot of money. So I will be pleased to answer your questions later. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Meunier, for your opening remarks.
From the National Association of Career Colleges, Mr. Michael Sangster, the Chief Executive Officer, for 5 minutes or less, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon to all committee members and fellow witnesses. I'm pleased to be here today to participate in your study on veterans' employment post-service and to share some of the ways that regulated career colleges are already answering the call and helping veterans find meaningful work in their post-service careers. I'd like to take a moment to say thank you before we begin to all those currently serving in Canadian Armed Forces for the sacrifices you make, for the challenges you overcome, and for putting your country first. And thank you to our veterans for standing your watch and answering the call. Every day, employers, business associations, and trade groups are calling me and my association looking for well-trained, skilled workers who can show leadership, integrity, teamwork, problem-solving, and accountability. That sounds to me like the men and women who serve in Canada's military. More can and should be done to help service members understand the broad range of opportunities available to them before they are discharged, and more can be done for their families. We stand ready to support that effort. As major trainers of mature workers, NAC's 450 regulated career colleges train more than 150,000 learners each year who go on to ease the critical labour gaps across the country after graduation. Our direct training to employment pipeline provides learners and their families opportunities for advancement while responding to our country's diverse labour force and economic needs. Regulated career colleges work closely with employers to ensure that we are training for the skills currently required. That is important to consider for mature students who want to contribute immediately. From coast to coast, regulated career colleges are currently working with active service members, veterans and their families, and I'd like to take a moment to inform you of a few of those examples. Willis College right here in Ottawa is working closely with Veterans Affairs and D&D to train active service members and those transitioning to a number of exciting careers, including as cyber defense and security analysts, cyber operators, and business administrators. Last year, Willis College also announced the creation of a new $2 million Learning Together Veteran and Family Scholarship to provide full tuition scholarships to family members of veterans also taking one of their programs. I know Mr. Sampson attended the announcement, and I want to thank you for your participation and support, sir. CBBC Career College in Nova Scotia has also established a military and veterans partnership team to create a veteran-friendly centre and learning environment that provides the flexibility for military veteran students to flourish. We recognize at NAC that there are many transition services currently available for Canadian Armed Forces members, and we see an opportunity for the National Association of Career Colleges and our provincial affiliates to be more integrated into the program. More can be done together to educate veterans on the benefits of our training options. Regulated career colleges offer thousands of flexible training programs that allow our learners to step out of the military service directly into the classroom and onto the job site. Back to school day at a career college is every day of the week. Courses start every week of the year. Students graduate every week of the year. So if you were discharged on a Friday, you can start training for a career on a Monday morning. In a similar vein, since regulated career colleges are in communities across the country, not just in large urban centres, you don't have to be in Toronto or Ottawa or Calgary. You can be in Trinity, Melville, or Rimouski. We get people trained faster, we train them closer to their homes and families, and we train them where the demand for workers exists, in the communities that you represent. I would strongly recommend that the government convene an ongoing veteran skills and training table that includes a wide range of partners, including regulated career colleges and employers, to keep everyone working and focused on this issue. Establishing a regular ongoing working table is one way to ensure continued collaboration and keep us all focused on what matters most, getting more veterans into more jobs through the best training possible. And to be bold, we recommend that the government and NAC build a program for spouses and children of active military and veterans. When a soldier serves, their family serves too. The nomadic life of a military family makes maintaining a career for family members difficult. This committee can recommend in your report bringing employers, governments, and regulated career colleges together to support military families in getting trained for roles and skills needed by employers. As a leader in industry-driven skills training, we welcome the opportunity to work with all levels of government to continue providing job training programs tailored to the unique experiences and needs of veterans. Thank you, and I welcome the opportunity to discuss these solutions with you in more detail.
Thank Now, nous allons passer à Monsieur.
We will go back to Mr. André Tivierge. He is a retired major, and I will also tell you thank you very much for your service. We'll try once again. It appears that the problem is on our end rather than your end. So I will restart the clock, and you have 5 minutes. Go ahead. The interpreter notes the same as earlier. The sound quality coming from the current speaker is not sufficient for interpretation to be provided, and interpretation will resume as soon as the sound quality allows it.
No.
Il y a des problèmes?
Oui, je vais vérifier. Allez.
Yes, I will check. But Ms. Blaney, please go ahead, and Ms. Forgenthal.
Moi, je
The
continue, Monsieur le
interpreter.
Président.
Que les membres
Members who will check with members who aren't getting the interpretation. Ms. Blaney?
This witness, because I'm very excited to hear what he has to say, but what the interpreters are saying is that the sound is still not clear enough for them to do their interpreting.
Okay, what I can do my best to do it in English if the interpreter are not able to correct the problem.
ce que je vais faire, c'est que je vais.
What I'm going to do is, and I'm going to suspend for a few moments because it's important that we can hear from all witnesses. So I will suspend the meeting to fix this problem. So please stay with us. Thank you.
Merci.
Nous reprenons.
We will resume. We will resume. And my apologies. I had Ms. Rogenthal who wanted to speak. I would ask her.
Or would you like to intervene right now, please?
I would like to see this witness present in French, which I don't understand. I wish I did, but. And those of us that speak English only, which is probably few, I have read everything that he's submitted, and I would like to have him part of the testimony today so that I can ask him questions. Or let's all chip in and get him an Uber. Apparently he's in Ottawa.
Yeah, 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 exactly. Well,
I would like us to.
yes, and I understand that, Mrs. Wagenthal. The problem is with our interpreters.
Mr. Chair, I think we wasted more than 5 minutes talking about this that he could have done in English and in French.
Well, you know, but the thing is, excuse me, I know that we have the speech of Mr. Tivierge, but we won't be able to ask him questions. So, even though it's French or in English, so no translation, so I have to be strict on translation. So, what I would suggest, ce que je voudrais suggérer, Monsieur Tivierge.
What I would suggest, Mr. Tivierge, is true that you're from the region. We can have you appear again before the committee so you can do your presentation in person. Members have read your speech. They can include it in the report, but I think it would be very important to hear what you have to say, what your personal experience is, so we could offer you that possibility to come back and see us as part of this study. What do you think?
Si c'est pour le bien de la commission, oui, j'accepte, Monsieur le Président.
Merci, merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much for your understanding. You can stay online and listen to the rest of the meeting, but the clerk will get in touch with you in order that you can appear. So I invite you to turn off your microphone, but keep listening in to our deliberations during this meeting. Committee members, ladies and gentlemen, witnesses, we will continue. And since we will be working on committee business during the second portion of the meeting, we'll be able to take some time from that portion so that we can spend a full amount of time with our witnesses before us. So we will start with the first round of questions. And
for the 6 minute, Mr. Terry Dodell, for 6 minutes or left to start questioning the witnesses. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all,
Excusez-moi.
my apologies. The sound isn't getting to the booth. Microphone, please.
Bon, non. Mais, encore une fois.
Again. Yes. Okay. I will suspend for a minute just to make sure we can do a test. You know that we have changed rooms, so maybe that's part of the problem. Dear committee members, so one moment, please. Dear witness, we will just make sure we can conduct a sound check with the interpreters. I'm suspending for a few minutes. round of question. And Mr. Delton, you have 6 minutes.
And I plan on allowing some of my time, ceding some of my time to my neighbor here because we have quite a few questions and it's a short meeting. First of all, thanks for everyone for being on our panel today. I think it's a great study that we're doing, and hearing from those individuals that are helping us to hopefully achieve some of those goals is fantastic, and thanks to those that have served that are on our panel. I guess my question will go out, first of all, I guess to Mr. Munir. As you know, we heard testimony last week on the commissionaires, and I don't want to pick on any organizations because I think they do great work as well. But I think when you highlight the RFR and I guess the advantage it hurts companies like you, and I agree. I think everyone should hopefully be on the same playing field when we're hiring veterans that are coming out of the field, and I heard that as well over from Mr. Sangster, the career. But I guess for you, what would be a better process to ensure that people hire veterans and keep up numbers? Are we better to incentivize perhaps hires than we are to have a contract that states you need a certain amount of veterans in your organization? Sure.
Thanks very much for your question. I'm good? Okay. Thanks very much for your question. I think that there are multiple processes in place already today. One in particular, without getting into too much detail, it's called the Regional Standing Offer, but essentially what this does is pre-qualifies service providers, and by pre-qualifying, you set standards that different providers would need to meet. And in doing so, they're vetting them, ensuring that veterans are hired, that veterans keep the employment that they already have, that they would retain their salary and benefits, full compensation packages. As I said, veterans preferential hiring policy. And in putting that out to multiple companies, it becomes a competitive process, allows the government to save upwards of $45 million. We know from standing committee minutes meetings past that the commissioners currently charge about 15% more than market rates. $45 million is an awful lot of money that could go towards other programs that support our veterans.
Thank you. One other thing that we've heard about is a lot of the veterans are homeless. I've heard numbers up to 6,000. And I know in my area, for a lot of employers, are actually coming up with ways because they can't afford to live in our communities and still work. Is there an interest in that perhaps you could be a partner as a large corporation in providing some kind of housing and tied to employment?
We partner with a lot of organizations within our communities. For instance, in Toronto, as one example, we're very close to the Crime Stoppers organization, and we work on warm-up programs, helping them. And we see a lot of it in our business. They find shelter in various areas that our clients perhaps don't want them. So we're able to work with the homeless and our clients and the different community organizations to move them to areas where they can have shelter and be safe overnight.
Okay, thank you, and I'll cede my time now to you, Kathy.
All right. Thank you, Chair. And thank you to my colleague. Appreciate you all being here. I will do my best to transition over to some different questions than I had today. I appreciate your concerns, your three things that you indicate are important, one of them being the modernization of the right of first refusal. I just need some clarity in those arguments. From what I understand, the commissioners are nonprofit or not charitable. So their overhead, from what I understand, is significantly less, and there isn't, that profit-driven side of things that plays into the role of their organization. So the only point I have a question on. I certainly don't have a question on being a business. As a matter of fact, a lot of times businesses are far more efficient, I believe, definitely than government, and I'm sitting in government, so close. So my question is, what is your rationale for feeling that right of first refusal needs to be shared more broadly?
The first thing is that the fact that commissioners, they are the only one who get access to our veterans. If we open that up to the industry, overall, the industry itself is bigger than the commissioners. So in my own ranks, I already have a lot of veterans, and they are not funneled to us. We need to source them. We need to find ways to get them to us. So if we open up to everybody, it will make everybody a better access to the veteran to have a job that could benefit to their skill set as well. Because it's not only, there's many jobs that we can offer that others cannot. And because the industry is so broad across the country, together, I think we can afford, sorry? Yeah.
And I think just to add, you mentioned the nonprofit side of commissionaires. And I mentioned the 15% higher than market rate. We know that this money is not going into the pockets of the veterans, and we can't say for certain. We have tried to investigate. We can't say for certain where that money is going, that $45 million is going. We do know that they compete against us in private industry and generally are able to beat us in a very low margin business. They're able to win. We also know that, interestingly, they're making purchases, acquisitions of companies across the country. And for a nonprofit to be doing that, it's a little bit unclear. So we have to assume that 15% is
My time is up. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Arnold. And now let's go to Mr. Charles Rogers for 6 minutes or less. Please, Mr. Rogers.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for our witnesses for being here today. Welcome, and certainly your testimony is important to what we're doing here for this particular study. I think the ultimate goal for all of us is that we create a better system across the country that allows veterans and to find employment and hopefully something that'll guide them to a career for their entire lifetime. So, Mr. Sangstra, I want to ask you a question about the colleges. And I know you made some comments in your opening statement, but I'd like for you to tell this committee and what are some of the best things you do that creates employment opportunities for veterans and how it's such a success story, because you've shared some things with me in a private meeting as well. So I just want you to share with the committee.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate the opportunity to answer the question. I believe it's our fast, innovative, agile style that we work with, being an entrepreneurial organization. We've got about 450 members across Canada, and they're used to being very closely associated to the local employers, the local labor force needs, so we can train people quickly for what's actually needed in the economy nearby. So to answer your question, I'm going to answer you with an example of something we went on. Well, not veteran related, but in Ontario, we were able to train over 17,000 personal support workers during COVID who came into our colleges in Ontario, and I have that case study I can use today, who came in, enrolled, studied, did practical placements, graduated, and went into long-term care and personal care homes during COVID. So those are the kind of examples that we've got all across the country. We've got them with veterans, with Willis College, with what they're doing, and with active duty members where they're training them to go in and be cybersecurity experts inside a D&D. It's that fast, nimble approach that I believe our members can bring that is so valuable for learners. And I have to say, I think they're very, very adept and very able to teach and educate people who come out of the military who have a bunch of those skills that employers are already looking for. Turn them around quickly, 3, 6, 9 months, get them to work.
So what are some of the challenges that vets face? Because we've heard from some of them that they have a great deal of difficulty getting into certain programs and institutions. So what are some of the challenges that some of them face when they come directly out of the military and trying to, do programs with your colleges, for example, across the country?
I think we can do better at educating them into the opportunities that exist with the training funds that come out of the federal government programs. I think we can work closer with government to help educate them as well. Those are some of the difficulties. I don't think they're aware as much as they could be about the opportunities that exist to come in, get trained, and get to work quickly. And that's why in our comments today we offered a couple of solutions. One of them being a permanent training table that would allow skills and workforce development issues to be brought to the table on a quarterly basis between government, industry, employers, and veterans groups to make sure that we're bringing those skills forward.
Okay, so I guess then from your experience, I think you're saying is that colleges, we've seen a movement from colleges to provide support to military and veteran students on our campuses, and you also reference the family members of veterans as well. You want to elaborate on that just a little bit?
Yeah, we'd welcome the opportunity to look at a program like Willis College has done here in Ottawa on a national basis to talk about how could we help train the families who serve alongside the members. So we would welcome that opportunity to work with government and be a part of that. We would bring together employers that approach us and speak to us and see if we can't find a way to help train the families along too. I know from my past experience from some companies, they used to look at that. How do we get someone who can move anywhere and still be employed? And we could quickly be a part of that solution.
And so you mentioned that skills and training table. I see that as an important part of moving forward.
Yeah, we see that as something that could be very valuable with employers with all levels of post-secondary education, not just with regulated career colleges, but with all. And we see, if I could go back quickly on the family answer, we see some mental health benefits there as well with the families. When you're less worried about the income of different members moving around, the whole family as a unit will feel better.
This question for Garda. I talked to the commissioners right after our last meeting. I spoke to them privately here in the room, and I wanted to know a little more on RFRs, and they're pretty adamant that we retain that, because it benefits their organization. So the question is, have you had dialogue or discussions with the commissioners group in terms of whether or not the RFRs should be retained going forward, and what kind of discussions were these?
It's a good question, actually. So I tried, but we didn't get a lot of traction, actually. So it was like a separate world between us. So they feel that we cannot understand maybe their needs, but we do. So for me, it's removing the risk for the veterans to get more hiring. And at the end of the day, we're competing in the same market. It's a question of trying to be sure that we address the market the right way. And today the industry don't feel that it's fair for everybody. So.
If I may add, we have our what we call a coalition. So when Jean-Luc speaks about the industry, there's over 21 companies, service providers, security service providers in Canada that are working together to discuss this and get the message out there that a policy that was built in 1945, which was a great policy in 1945. Young men and women were coming back from the war and needed employment quickly, didn't necessarily have the skills, needs modernization.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rogers. So now let's go to le deuxième vice-président du comité.
The second vice chair of the committee, Mr. Luc Desilets, for the next 6 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to our witnesses for being here with us for this very important information. I just want to remind you the objective of this committee and of this study is to lead to recommendations. So if you could give us some during your responses, that would be very relevant. Mr. Meunier, you described the right of first refusal as a regulatory mechanism that requires federal bodies to really prioritize the commissionaire's body before calling on other providers for security, if I understood correctly. Please forgive my ignorance on this, but do you know if this mechanism, this regulatory mechanism, is part of federal legislation? Well, it's a policy of Veterans Affairs, the department that is managing it, and it's PSPC Public Works that is helping them for the negotiations. Does that apply to the provinces as well? There are some provinces that have copied the federal legislation for their agreements in the Maritimes and the Prairies especially. You also said earlier that all security firms are actively recruiting. I once again have a bit of difficulty understanding what the problem is, because there are people trying to join the workforce, and then there are people wanting to hire them. Well, actually, it's harder to find the people these days. And secondly, veterans are directed towards the commissionaires, rather than the industry in general. So we have to work a lot harder. So those who come with us, Simon, who's also from the forces, he'll have a different interest to come and join us rather than the commissionaires. I really don't want to say anything against the commissionaires. I really want to open up the field and to get rid of that notion, that idea that they're the only place where people can go work, veterans can go work. There's a whole industry that includes the commissionaires, and I think we can open all of that up for the benefit of everybody. And when we appeared before Senate committees, we did show that it costs a lot more. Everybody needs more resources. So if we could open everything up for everybody, as it was mentioned earlier as well, to all programs that are recruiting veterans, well, we'll take them all. So we just need to really get rid of this old regulation. Yes, Mr. Bernier, your colleague opened the door to you. Perhaps you could add something. Yes, of course. And we know that, things are different now than in 1945, the way it was when this regulation was first brought in. Many members now leave after about 10 years and so on. And the private companies gave us a lot more innovation and possibilities after another master's or another degree than just the commissionaires did. So I think it would be important to have an accreditation system for the industry, kind of like the ISO standard that we have in the private sector, something that we could apply ourselves to remove that burden from the veterans in their post-service careers, so that they can have more support at a systemic level. Mr. Sinster, you opened the door earlier to the fact that it wasn't just veterans who benefit. It's those who are close to them, their families, who can also be helped, and in terms of career and so on also. I think that's a very strong argument also. Now, for the last minute, I'd like to give it to you to give some more information about that. Is that something that's put in place currently? Is it working?
I am aware of a few companies, I believe, that have looked at this. I don't know of anyone who's done it. We took your challenge of finding recommendations for today to bring to you that could be valuable. And we believe putting together a group with employers, trade associations that, as I said earlier, are approaching us on a daily basis looking for workers. And I believe they're looking for veterans. I think they're looking for the skills that come out of the military from my own experience of dealing with the military over my career. So I would argue that both programs, getting more of those veterans into our colleges, but also getting their families alongside at the same time, would be very valuable for our country.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm done my questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you. You still had a minute. That's perfect, Mr. Desilets. So to close this first round of questions,
Ms. Rachel Blaney for 6 minutes or less, please. Go ahead.
Thank you, and it certainly won't be less, because you know me, Chair. So, first of all, I just want to say that I don't want to talk about the right for first refusal. And in fact, if we start talking about it, I will immediately end the conversation. Because what I'm interested in this study is how do we support veterans the best? And so if you're different than another organization, that's cool. I don't care. I just want to hear what your success is. So I just want to get that up right away, because to me, I just don't think this is the right place. And I certainly acknowledge you're doing your work, and that's your business, but I just don't think this is the place for it. So my first question, and I'm going to ask both of you, so I'll start with Garda World first, is I'm just curious about, in the structure that you have, how are veterans at the leadership and guiding you in the methods that you're using to support veterans? So first you, and then I'll go over to the Career College. Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Mme. Blaney. Essentially, we had a chance to build internally a Veterans Advisory Board We have active reservists as well, both on the officer side and on the rank side as well, and across the country in itself. And we were able, not only do we have a voice through that board, we actually are listened to. And one clear example for that was not the case before, we've allowed for service member and veterans to wear their ribbons, honoring the medals that they've earned throughout their services. So this is a brand new initiative that we've pushed forward. So make and feel a fit of culture in the organization is something that we strive for, and that fit of culture is way more broad than ribbons. We definitely push to having civilian members of the organization understand. So as we say in Latin, audi alteram partem. So listen to the other party so we could both join ourselves at a certain point in the middle point.
Thank you for the question. NAC has 450 member colleges that make all of their own employment decisions as to who their leadership would be. Our organization is fairly small with just 8 employees. So I don't currently have anybody who has served in the military on our team, I believe. But I welcome the idea. I think it is a very good idea of bringing somebody into our organization directly. I do know there are some within our colleges, but I couldn't give you a good idea of how many. I like the idea, and I'd like to look at it some more and get back to you.
Yeah, so if there's a way that you could check out with your colleges, I think that would be really helpful for this program, because I think leadership really, I appreciate that. And you talked about wearing the ribbons, and that's nice, but I understand that you talked about an advisory board, so hopefully there is some staunch leadership in that role because it's important. So I've read through a lot of research around the outcomes of employment for veterans, and it's very clear that there are 3 particular groups that are struggling with employment after service. And those 3 groups are young veterans who've not had a lot of years of service, women veterans, and we still don't really know why, which is very concerning to me. And the third section is medically released veterans. So knowing that those are the most vulnerable groups, that they don't have the best outcomes, that is what the research says. I'm just curious if you could speak specifically around strategies that you're putting into place or considering that create opportunities for those 3 groups to participate in the supports that you have and the training you have, and what the outcomes are, and how do you measure those outcomes, especially in those particular groups, and do you even measure those outcomes?
Militaries are different. They don't behave the same way as people who are dealing usually with. So the recruitment group that we have usually was a broad of all the same. So we decided, based on our experience and the committee that Simon is leading, to carve out some of the recruiters to be more versed in the military needs that these people might have, and this help us out to have a lot of success out of it. But it's a different hiring when we are veterans versus hiring, I don't know how to say it, civilians, yes. Yeah. So for the female, we don't have stats on this. So I would like to help you out there. I cannot help. We don't see we didn't see the difference in our recruiting so far. And usually people with problems, we have programs in the system that we have to support these people. So usually when we hire them, in theory they don't have problems, but sometimes their problems occur after the fact, and then we have programs to take care of them after, when we notice these type of issues with these people.
If I could just quickly,
Your mic's not on.
Sorry. For young people, the entry-level security guard type work is ideal for young people coming out of the service. It gives them that comfort of a uniform and structure and standing orders. So we will go after them to come over to us, and then we can work with them to build a full career.
So do you have any statistical information on younger veterans?
Sorry, we don't, but we can look for that.
Thank you. I don't have statistics specific. I don't have statistics specific to veterans, but I do have some interesting studies I can share with you in Ontario, focused around the type of learners we have and the success rate that they tend to have. So we have found in regulated career colleges we have a higher success graduation rate and a higher employer rate, but we also have a higher over 30 average student age. About 60% of our students are women, and 50% of our students in Ontario have children, and 12% are single parents. So when we look at that, we look at the small classroom sizes that we develop, the specialized learning programs we develop. While it's not veterans, it's those groups that you're talking to, I think, are captured in there. And I'd like to spend some time with you looking at that a little more depth and see if we can't find a way to capture more of that information for you.
Thank you so much. And now let's go for a second round of questions. And I'd like to invite the first VP of the committee, Mr. Blake Richards, for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you. Got questions for both groups with us today. I'll start with you, Mr. Sangster. I was intrigued by some discussion you and I had one-on-one, as well as what you've said here in committee today about programs for spouses and family members. I think that's often something that gets forgotten around working to help our veterans. It isn't just confined to employment or to career transition. It's really across the board. It's often forgotten that there is the service that these men and women give to this country has an impact on their families and on their spouses as well. And one of those areas is in this area, because much like the veteran themselves, they're required often to move across the country a number of times during their service to our country, and this can create difficulties in terms of being able to be prepared for that transition to civilian life afterward, and applies to the spouse and the family as well. And so great to hear you talking about that. And I'd like to just, I know you've got a very unique perspective. You've had some time in your career in government, you've had some time in your career in the private sector in leadership roles, and of course in this leadership role with the National Association of Career Colleges, you have the ability to be able to put something in place and work through that organization to see something come to fruition. And so you had mentioned about the idea of there should be a program for spouses and family members to help get them trained, to give them the skills that are needed by employers. Can you elaborate a bit more? Have you got more thoughts on what that program should in fact look like?
So what we're proposing today is the start of a conversation. I have not put together pen to paper yet of what we'd exactly like to see, because we don't believe we're the only partner at the table. We believe the Chamber of Commerce, the Business Council of Canada, trade unions, employers in this country. And when I say employers, I think of large telcos, large banks, Canadian Tire, Tim Hortons, large employers that are spread across this country where employees could move from location to location easily. And when we talk about the mental health of a serving member of the military, I believe if we're taking care of the family, I do believe, as you said, that when someone serves in our military, their family serves right alongside with them. They carry that stress, they carry that anxiety, and if we can do one small thing that helps them feel better about the world and where it's coming, and even as someone moves into their own retirement from the military, knowing that their spouse is in a good place and their children are in a good place, that's going to help them feel about retraining. And we see other post-secondary institutions being a part of this conversation. So we've not defined the whole program, but I do believe our country would benefit from doing this. And to Mr. Desilets' comments, I believe that's what you asked us to do, is come with some ideas. Let's come with what you can propose and bring from different people to the table.
Yeah, and that's very much appreciated. And I do have a question for Mr. Munier or Mrs. Arnold, whoever wants to answer from Garda. So hopefully we'll get a chance to come back to this conversation, but I want to go there first. And it is in regards to the right of first refusal. Much like other members of the committee have said, we had the commissionaires essentially come here last week to tell us that they felt that the 60% target is kind of maybe an unrealistic target in this day and age. You're telling us that you think by opening it up for more competition to have the opportunity to provide those services, that maybe more veterans would be employed. Much like others, I don't have a dog in the fight. I just want to see more veterans employed, and so would love to just kind of get into that a little bit. You mentioned 21 other companies, or 21 companies, including yourselves, that are available in the security industry. You do have some federal contracts. You mentioned CATSA. You mentioned some with immigration as well. Can you tell us because you can only speak for your own company, what number of employees do you have? How many of those are veterans? And in particular with your federal contracts, What percentage of your hours worked in your federal contracts are veterans currently? And what are your barriers to being able to hire more?
Colleen will probably add to what I will say, but at the end, so we have many division, many type of contracts. So we don't measure the veterans ratio by contracts, but by division we do, like the cash service division that we have, where these people carry arms, as you know. So 25% of the ranks are people from the force. So this is a good place for them. They are used to that. They are well disciplined. They know exactly what to do. The training is minimum because they are suited for that type of role. I would say that and unfortunately on the contract side, I don't have the stats, but the detention center, a lot of them are okay. Sorry, so no more time apparently.
Like 15 seconds, yeah.
I can come back to you with more stats after the.
He's willing to give you 15 seconds to give the stats now if you'd like. That's what I think I heard. So, yeah. So
15 seconds to close.
You mentioned the detention center specifically.
But they are attracted by this. But like I said, I don't have the stats by contract. I have more by division, like the 25% for cash services as an example.
Something important to note is those contracts. Those contracts, the detention centers, the airport security, are not governed by an RFR. They go out to RFP, so they don't have the same contract requirements.
Thank you so much. And now I'd like to invite Mr. Wilson Miao. I don't know if it's going to work, but Wilson Miao, you have 5 minutes or less. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And, I'm quite interested because through the chair, I'd like to ask my following question to Garda. You mentioned in your remark you employ more than about 35,000 Canadians across the country. Am I correct?
You're correct.
And how much are those in ratio are veterans?
Is it okay? Yeah, it's a mix depending of the division they are working for, and in Canada it's on a voluntary basis, so we cannot force them to declare if they are veterans or not. So again, the one that we have good stats is the cash management. 25% of the ranks are previous military, previous veterans. The rest, it depends of. I don't have a stats, but we can work this out and provide them to you. So I don't know where to look, but.
And can you explain to us how your organization recruits veterans? Is there like a specific process that you use to facilitate the hiring process? And
excuse me, Mr. Miao, just a second, please. We have to make sure that the sound is good. No. Okay, Mr. Miao, what we can do, you can split your time with one of your colleagues, and because we have to make sure that the sound is 100% perfect with our interpreters. So,
Mr. Chair, can I try again, or is my voice not so good? I'll share my time with my colleagues. How's that? Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Miao, for your understanding. And Mr. MP Dawol Sanson will use your 4 minutes left.
Thanks, Chair. I'll not only use his 4 minutes, but I'll use his question. So how's the recruitment? What are some of the recruitment strategies or best practices in both your organizations? We'll start with you, Monsieur Jean-Luc.
Simon will be better to answer this one.
D'accord, merci.
Yeah, so we wanted to create a different path for veterans to get hired by us. So we have like a specific landing page for them, gardaworld.com/military. So they get into an environment where we try to speak their languages the more we can, and therefore they're submitting their resume or CV through specific recruiters that we've actually trained in understanding their title and their career path that they had in the past. So definitely this ease up the process for them, so we can accustom them to a job that fits their skill set even more than other companies I trust.
Sorry, I'll just add to that. We have specific recruitment days that are focused on veterans and on their families. And interestingly enough, we heard about the spouses and how difficult it is moving and different schedules, etc. We do have a very flexible workforce separate from the permanent, regular work week type group, and we call them in Quebec. We call them les réservistes, and these are people that and we have a lot of veterans, a lot of people that are reservists with the military and their families that can put their name in this pool, and we'll call them. And if they're available, they'll work. If they're not available, we'll call them the next time.
Thank you. I'll have Mr. Sangster. Maybe you can talk a little bit about your recruitment as an association or individual. Some of the best practices. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm pleased to do that. I think one of the things I would like to talk on, and I should have mentioned this when Mr. Richard asked me, one of the best practices when we talk about this family program we're talking about is Willis College here in Ottawa that unleashed a $2 million scholarship fund on their own for families, going alongside, and I believe you were there, sir, when it was announced, going alongside veterans that are in the government's veteran education program. They have added spaces for free education for spouses and children alongside at the very same time. So when you talk about putting pen to paper, we have a little bit by the actions of one of our colleges. When it comes to the recruitment of best practices, one of the things that this hearing, this process has led me to do is take a good look at it. And we're looking at some of the things that we could do better. I'm talking to our colleges, and I'm looking forward to some conversations with the Department of Veterans Affairs and possibly this table that we're recommending that would put people at the table to talk about those best practices and bring them into action, because I don't believe our association has done a good job educating our members on some of these programs that are available. And I think we can work alongside Veterans Affairs to do more career fairs, more job fairs, more learning fairs to get to veterans. And I hear talk of a landing page for veterans. That's a great idea on the stuff we do. We've been doing it in our social media, but we should have a page where students can come learn about these programs through our site, because it might be a spouse that finds it, not the active member, and then get them into the training program. So I think there's some lessons learned for us here as well.
Merci, Monsieur Sanson.
Thank you, Mr. Sanson. Mr. Luc Desilets, you have the floor for 2.5 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Even if you're not that generous. Mr. Meunier, how many education institutions would be impacted, or how many sent people your way? I'm not sure what you meant. You work with the Quebec institutions. Yes, but we do a lot of training ourselves as well. We have an accredited campus, accredited by the Ministry of Education, and that's where most of our officers are trained in Montreal. Is it a French college or English? Well, both, really. In Quebec, it's mostly in French. And how many people in Montreal? About 12,000 people per year. So I would say about 40% of those people would be in Quebec. Oh, that's a good number. And within of that, how many veterans? Oh, I don't really have statistics on that. It's on a voluntary basis that they disclose their status. I don't have any stats on that. That's fine. I'd like to hear what you have to say about this. Veterans have specific needs. We talked about this at the last meeting. How can an employee be made aware of these needs, if you work directly with the employers? Go ahead, and I can complete your answer. Yes. So that's why we referred to having an accreditation system with structured practices so that all employers could follow them. I learned from Mr. Sangster, I learned from the University of Ottawa, which appeared before you last Thursday. So they exchange best practices that increase value. I think it would be important to really set those in stone so that we can really talk about voluntary accreditation that institutions and organizations could adhere to. That would provide our veterans with the confidence that they need at the time of their transition. Yes, thank you, and congratulations on your work. Thank you, Mr. Desilets.
Ms. Rachel Blaney for 2 minutes and a half, please. Your turn.
Well, thank you so much, Chair. And I have a request first for Garda World. I'm just wondering if you could share with the committee, I don't assume that you have it on your person right now, but the starting wage and the wage range for veterans in the different positions that are provided. That would be really helpful. And then the second question that I have for both of you, and I'll start with Garda World, is could you share specifically, I'm just a little concerned because I have heard in your testimony that you don't track veterans unless they self-disclose. So that's interesting. I ran a nonprofit. We had to identify everyone. So there you go. That's very interesting. So I'm just wondering, how do you measure outcomes in terms of veterans, in terms of them getting the training, the employment, and then retention of employment? And the same as well for you, just around the training and then retention and employment. That would be really helpful to the committee.
Actually, interestingly enough, Simon, in his new portfolio, he's deploying a technology that will allow us to better track. I think, unfortunately, technology was part of the reason. It is a self-declaration, but I think, and our cash services can get the information easier because they carry an arm, and so that when we can easily understand whether or not they've had a permit to carry a firearm before when they declare that they're a veteran. On our side of the business, we don't have that, but it's something with our new technology we'll be able to do a better job at.
So for me to answer that question, it's a tricky one because every province, I got a lot of apples and oranges, and everybody studies it differently and gathers it differently or doesn't gather it, or gathers it in ways that are ineffective. Ontario has just changed the way they're doing it, which is going to be much more effective for us. What I can tell you is that for our learners, we tend to have a higher graduation rate, and we tend to have a higher employment rate and a higher rate of working in the fields that we train them for. I think that's a natural thing with the size and length of our programs and the hands-on learning that we do. That being said, we're in the process of looking at doing a national study to come up with some of those numbers. We have COVID stopped some of that work too, that allowed us to capture some of that information. So further to my earlier comments, I welcome the opportunity to talk about that with you and look at some ways that we could capture some of the data you're looking for, because we're going to be doing it.
Thank you. And we have two last interventions, and I'll start with Mrs. Kathy Wagenthal for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Chair. Really appreciate the conversations taking place today. It's very helpful. So I just want to say, in regard to my colleague, NDP colleague, she steals my questions all the time. We think similarly, shall we say, because I really do have a concern about the fact that what I'm hearing today, and no judgment here at all, we don't know how many veterans, we don't know how many are being employed and where they are and what they're learning. And we have a strategy here, a national strategy for veterans employment after service. And it seems we're trying to catch up with the title, quite honestly. And as of September 1, I don't know if you are aware, September 1st, 2021, there were 171 VAC employees who identified as Canadian Armed Forces. So again, as being part of the Armed Forces. Out of 3,455 full-time equivalents, that's only 4.9%, 5% of their group of employees. According to the Public Service Commission, which is responsible for administering hiring priorities for the public service, 330 appointments out of the 64,796 hires made in 2021 for the entire public service were veterans. That's 0.5%. So when we talk about making sure that our veterans have good jobs coming out of the service, it appears to me that we really don't even know what we're working with here. And I appreciate you saying that you're prepared to do the work to find out so that we can meet the intent of this new national strategy. So my question would be, how committed you are to actually doing this work. I have to say, I'm not impressed with VAC. They don't know the answers to these questions, and we're just starting to look at finding out where our veterans are in regards to being employed. It seems counterintuitive to me, but regardless, I have that question too about the wages. Simone, can you tell me what is the starting wage for a particular area of service within, or sorry, whomever? Okay.
So Canada is a wide country, so 10 territories and provinces. So every province is managing the wages, and security
Minimum
is a
wage.
provincial jurisdiction. So at the end of the day, we need to obey by the regulation of the province. So we are unionized in every province of this country, but I would say in Alberta, to summarize it, it's not that simple. But so the wages by default are managed by the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement that we have with our guards. So everybody's treated the same way, and it's a fair playing field for everybody because we are unionized. So not everybody is like us, but we are unionized in most of our jurisdictions.
Okay, so starting wage
is the same for everybody.
It's the same.
Depending on the province.
Depending on the
Right.
yes.
Yes, I
Very
understand
different by
that.
province.
Very different.
Yes.
As an example,
Cost of living.
in Ontario, there's when we switch, if we lose a contract, as an example, all the jobs are protected. So we cannot fire anybody. If we take over from somebody a contract, we need to maintain everybody in place with the salary that they have.
Okay.
So there's regulation already in place to protect a lot of our workers today. So.
Okay, very good. I think that's good. A minute to go. Okay.
Could I add one comment?
Go ahead, please, Michael.
Yeah, if I could
Sorry,
add
Mr.
one
Sangster.
comment. While we don't have the path yet, we are very committed to try and find some of that data because I think it is important as we look at our veterans and their families that have served. I'll tell you what we are committed to. Each and every one of our colleges across Canada is committed to training people for the jobs that are actually needed today.
So I mean, when I hear your breadth of training available, was the training for care workers during COVID, was that something you had done before, or is that a brand-new program? And how do you get the accreditation in place that fast? Because I've been involved in some of that, and it's strenuous.
Our personal support worker program, as it's called in Ontario, and is taught in different names in every province in the country, it almost seems, has been around for quite a long time and has been accredited by the provincial regulators that we operate under in every province.
One more very brief question. You mentioned about working with other colleges. Other colleges within your umbrella, or are we talking about community colleges in other areas, other programs through other institutions?
Many of our career colleges, our regulated career colleges, work closely with the community colleges and the universities nearby. We like that partnership. We believe we have a role to play and they have a role to play. And I did want to just mention, to give you an example of some of those programs, we're getting asked right now for 75,000 truck drivers, which some of our colleges also train. That's one of the needs that's out there. That's a very well-paid career in this country, upwards of $100,000 for some of those people.
Right.
Coming out of the military, it's a great role for someone. To give you an example, a very tangible one, we've got the member from Newfoundland and Labrador here today. We've got a great partnership there where the college, the career college, the community colleges, and the universities all work together very well. And we'd like to encourage more of that. That's why we're proposing today to talk about our commitment is this table, this permanent structure that we can talk about taking care of veterans.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes. And now I'd like to invite Mrs. Rachel Valdez for 5 minutes or less. Please, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the witnesses for joining us today, and especially those who have served. Through you, Mr. Chair, the question is for Garda. You had cited 15% in your opening, and we were provided a document from the commissionaries that said the 15% is a myth. So I wanted to know if you can provide clarity on the 15% number, where it comes from.
May I? Yeah. So see? It came from the minute of the senatorial committee that was hosted, I think, in 2014, 2016.
Yeah.
So we took that from the Senate committee that has been hosted a few years ago. So, because there's no public information on this unless there's a committee like this one, and it creates reference for us to be able to make some math, right? So.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, I'll direct my questions to Mr. Sangster. I appreciate the work of career colleges across Canada. I was actually curious, I was listening to your testimony. Can you share what the veteran experience is like when they study on campus?
Thank you. One of the things I'd like to share is I think it's the small, intimate size of classroom. We tend to have a smaller classroom size and a faster program that I'd like to point out. One of the things I mentioned earlier, back to school day for us, as I like to say, is Monday. It's Thursday. It's not necessarily the first Tuesday after Labor Day. And that feeling of getting at it and getting going is just about anything we do in work. When you get the project started, you get moving. So when you get started on a Thursday in February, we find a higher success rate with some of those students because they just feel charged up. But I think the small, intimate-sized classrooms, people who are of a similar age, of a similar background to you, that exists in our career colleges is very, very helpful.
Can you provide input in how we can increase or encourage more veterans to start up in colleges? Like, what can we do to encourage them to pursue that?
Well, as I said earlier, I turn it around on ourselves as well. I think we can do more to encourage education of veterans and of active military, of the options that are available to them using our channels, using our social media and our marketing and our career fairs and our job fairs. So I put the challenge on our own members that we can do a better job of communicating some of those things. But I think just we can work closer with government. One of the impacts for us with COVID has been maybe some of those conversations stalled. Some of those things that happened at conferences and meetings just came to a halt, and we're not having those get-togethers anymore where you move things forward. So I'm putting it upon myself to get in touch with Veterans Affairs. This study led to me thinking about some things differently, and I'll be in touch with the department to see what can we do together. The program is generous, and our veterans are supportive of it that we talk to.
We've got lots of legions in our writing, so you're always welcome to pair up with some of us to get the word out. And I think the final question I have was more, I mean, you've shared several examples of all the work that you're doing, which is wonderful. So from all that learning, is there something that you want to ensure that we incorporate in our national strategy?
That's a good question. I guess we can never stop communicating. It's what we've learned in our association. We can never stop telling people what we do to convince people of the value of the regulated career college sector in Canada. So it's to never stop communicating and to find those partnerships and those places, as we've recommended, where we can come together to work together.
Thank you. Do I have time? Yes. Okay. I'll just come back to Garda since I have a little bit more time. Is there any other additional recommendations you like to ensure that we include in our strategy that you haven't mentioned already?
So interestingly enough, we've been following, all three of us and others within our organization have been following these sessions. And just speaking to Mr. Sangster, we see a lot of opportunity. We can partner, the networking that we can do. We know that I heard Ms. Blaney speak about the value that veterans want to feel that they're contributing to society. So how about we hire them and put them in a part-time job while they're finishing their studies so that they feel that they're contributing to society. I really believe that we talked about it, an alignment with Veterans Affairs and with the other partners that have sat through these sessions and really work together to find great options and alternatives for our veterans.
And security companies are invested in this country. Security companies are invested in this country, and if I think of us, we have 40 branches across the country, a little bit the same footprint as Mr. Sangster here. So there's probably easy way to connect together to help out the veterans to find education / work / other, right? So.
Can I add one more comment I should have mentioned, and it's just an opportunity that we can all take. Consider this an invitation to tour our college. Come see what we're doing on the ground and see if you think it's a good fit to understand a veteran going through that process and where they would come out the far side. So we would welcome that. You come tour one of our facilities across Canada.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Ben, merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. We'll be stopping our rounds of questions here. During witness statements, we heard that Mr. Simon Bernier also is a veteran as well. So on behalf of committee members, thank you for your service. And we also have special services when we have veterans to be able to help them in committee as well. So please don't hesitate to call on our committee. Our clerk can help you if you wish. And on this note, I would like to thank our witnesses today. First, from the Garda World Security Corporation, Jean-Luc Menu, President and Chief Operating Officer, Security Services Canada, Colleen Arnold, Vice President, Corporate Affairs, and Simon Bernier, National Director, Innovation and Technologies.
From the National Association of Career Colleges, Mr. Michael Sangster, Chief Executive Officer. Donc, je vous remercie encore une fois.
Thank you again for your contribution. And so, committee members, we will suspend for a few seconds just to thank our witnesses and move to the second portion of our meeting. So, I am suspending the meeting. Thank you. Resuming the meeting. So for this second portion, we are supposed to be on committee business for committee work. Do the members wish to continue in public or in camera? It's up to you. If it's going to be in camera, we're going to have to stop and come back in a couple of minutes. But essentially, for the second portion, yes, we'd be discussing the committee's upcoming work. I want to announce to committee members that this Thursday, we will have 4 witnesses, 2 for the first hour and 2 for the second hour. And the week after that as well, we will have more witnesses, that is, from the witness lists you have provided. And we'll continue so that we can have the number of meetings.
Mr. Richards would like to intervene.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I mean, main point of my intervention was just to say, like, we have literally less than 15 minutes, and I would ordinarily say that committee business, unless there's a reason for it not to be, and there is times where there is reason not to be, and we quite often do that in camera. But I was going to suggest, just given the time we have, that we not suspend to go into camera to use use part of the time we do have, especially since I don't think there's a whole lot of discussion that's going to be needed here. It sounds to me like you've got this week and next planned with this study, and then there's 1 week before we would have a break. My suggestion is I would like to see us try to maybe get a report done on the study we were doing before Christmas on the rehab contract. Maybe we can get into that, and perhaps then at that point, I haven't had a lot of time to think about what should come next yet, but maybe at that point, once we've finished that kind of reviewing that report one time, that would give us an opportunity to have some discussion with a little more time and a little more fulsomely about what would come next, where we could all come with some suggestions and make a plan for, because we do have then 2 weeks of constituency week. Would give our clerk some time to plan witnesses or whatever the case might be. So my suggestion is maybe we just roll through this week and next, go to work on the report that we should be getting to work on, and then we could, at that time, during that week, when we have 2 meetings that week, we could have some discussion about what comes next.
Thank you. Oh, let's go, and after that, Mr. Sanson, and after that, Ms. Blenay.
Yes, Chair, if you had let me speak first, I would have said the same thing, so I'm good with the public, staying in the public.
Ms. Blenay.
Well, now I just want to be difficult and say no, but I don't. I'm not going to do it, everybody.
No, go ahead.
No.
Go ahead.
I'm fine with it being public. And it sounds like we need to probably plan, as per what Blake said, another subcommittee meeting in the next while to have discussions about studies going forward. I will remind everybody in the committee that I'm pushing really hard to have a study on women veterans. Every report we read talks about the fact that we just don't know enough about women veterans, so I think we need to spend some time on that and hopefully engage the government to look into it a little bit more with some fundamental recommendations. So that's all I have for my intervention. Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you very much. So, well, nothing else. So that's why we, like I said, okay, we have that time to discuss because, okay, next we have for this week, it's okay for the session, and next week we have, and would you like to explain? Yes. Yeah. So, la greffière va devoir appeler les témoins.
The clerk will have to call the witnesses for next week for the 2 meetings. And after that, there will be automatically the break weeks. So if we could, in the time we have left, to talk about our next studies, as Ms. Blaney just mentioned, perhaps we could talk about a list of witnesses to provide to the clerk and so on, because when we come back, there's a it's possible that we'll have the report, but I don't know with the analyst first if we'll be able to have the report and the translation done as soon as we get back from those break weeks. It will all depend on when I'll get the contract. So we're waiting for the contract and a few other documents as well for the consultations that we had. So most of the document is ready, but I am waiting for those things to be able to confirm all of the points. I see. So perhaps, clerk, you were able to communicate with the department regarding our requests? We're still waiting? That's right. The contract, it was written in the letter that we would get it mid-February. And regarding the letter it was sent last Thursday, and we have not gotten a response.
I'd like to say to our colleague Wilson Miao, I'm sorry that you can't participate, but we are working with the technicians for the sound, so sorry for that. Mr. Richards.
Yeah, just I guess a couple questions there. You mentioned a couple of other things you were waiting on towards the rehab. Can you elaborate on what those were and what when we...
Small list of documents that had been asked from the government. The main one being the contract itself, because I want to compare it to the call for tenders. And the other thing was there was a request for a list of the consultations that had been made. It was said in committee, but there was supposed to be a document to support that. These are the documents.
So what you're waiting for, all of it is from Veterans Affairs?
Yes.
You're waiting for it. And so have we done a follow, like you mentioned that they sort of sent that letter saying mid-February. Have we done any follow-up on the other stuff? And do we have any sense when that'll be available? Because, I mean, to me, if that's the only thing we're waiting on, it seems a shame that, you know, Veterans Affairs itself is holding up the ability for us to produce a report, essentially, at that point then, right? And
Point of order.
That would seem like a shame.
Point of order. I just don't like the phrasing. Veteran Affairs is not holding us up.
Well,
the contract translation of 700 pages is holding up. It's got nothing to do with Veteran Affairs. It's been sent and it's being translated. Thank you.
Excuse me.
I'm not sure that was really a point of order, Chair, but regardless of that, the holdup. But it's not a point of order. The holdup is at Veterans Affairs to get our report done, and that's a shame. Like I think, could we not at least work on the parts of the report we could work on? Like I just think it'd be nice to be able to get that out the door, right?
Mrs. Wagenthal, and after Ms. Bleney. Mrs. Wagenthal.
I just am a little confused. When we do a report, it has to be in both official languages. Why is this report not already in both official languages?
Because it's not translated. It's being translated.
When was it created? When it's created, is it? Huh.
I don't have the details. All I know is that it's a 700-page document that's being translated and it's not completed. The translation is
It
what's
wasn't
taking
being
time.
translated until we asked for it? Okay, I just need clarification. Why?
L'ancienneté de certains éléments là, qui doit être révisé. Ça, je vous laisse les détails de ça.
So we're going to make a follow-up on that with the departments because we are waiting for that in order to have our report. So that's what we're going to do. But just
because I still had the floor, I thought. So, and then we kind of got into some side conversations there, but I still thought I had the floor because I hadn't seated it.
No.
And my point was simply that I feel like it would be nice to be able to get to work on that report. So, I mean, aside from waiting on the contracts, like what's the status of that? I'm assuming you've been working on elements of it, portions of it. Is there parts we could review next? Well, not next week, but that following week. Or hold on, is next week our only week before the break? Okay, so we don't. So we have witnesses lined up for right through to the break. So there is time then. But we should be able to look at something right after the break. Is that kind of what your sense is? If Veterans Affairs
right now the report
what you need?
is basically almost done, is done. I was missing these parts. If I send it, I could send it to translation probably at the end of this week, just to organize the thing, maybe early next week. I don't know how long, they would tell us how long it would take to have the report back, but I think it would be feasible to have it after the break.
Just follow up and find out where they are with the documents. Okay.
Mrs. Morgenthau, just before I have Ms. Blaney.
Well, thank you, Chair. This is an interesting discussion, and I just find it odd as well. I support what Kathy said, that there's a contract that's not translated into both languages, but I think the only thing that we need to talk about is that it should be done quickly, and that the analyst is a very brave and fearless person because he has to read that 700-page contract. So thank you for doing your work. It is much appreciated. So I just want to put on the floor again that I think that we have the next 2 meetings, and that gets us through to a break week, and then we come back for 1 week, and I would recommend that during that time we have a subcommittee meeting to go over what our strategies and plans are moving forward. I'm really excited to see who the Liberal will be on that committee, so I'm really excited to get it to happen. And I think that's where we should go. As for the report, hopefully we'll be able to hear by next week that it's moving along quite well, and then it will allow us to decide what we're going to do next. So I would assume that we're going to have a bit of a closure of one of our meetings with committee business again next week. So thank you for that, and thank you to the analysts for reading that document.
Thank you. And we remind all of us that we are still waiting for motions, so do not hesitate to send us motions, so we will discuss. But Mrs. Wagenthal, floor is yours.
Yeah, I just had a question about the witnesses. The one that was not able to make it today, City of Ottawa Veterans Task Force, will he be one of those witnesses in the next to speak?
So while we were in the meeting, I was in contact with Monsieur Tivierge. So I offered this Thursday, but he's unavailable. So I suggested Monday and next Thursday, and I'm waiting on a reply.
Could we ask him to be in person since he's here in Ottawa?
It was in my request.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm happy.
So first a suggestion, and then just so I'm clear, you're wanting a motion from the committee on what we do next, or I think we can just like have consensus, can't we? Yeah. Okay. So I like basically what Rachel had to say, but I would say I would rather than see us cut into witness time in the 2 meetings next week, because these I find when we only have 2 panels and we only have an hour with witness, like there isn't a lot of time as it is, and I hate when we cut into that with things, and sometimes it has to happen. There's no option. But I think in this case, that's not really the case. We could simply, if we've got the 2-week break, we come back and we're only here for a week, and then we have another constituency week. Perhaps what we do is that Monday when we come back from the 2-week constituency break, we just schedule the subcommittee meeting then. We make a plan. Hopefully then on the Thursday meeting we can look at the report, because that'll give you a few more days. And then we've got a plan for when we come back from the next constituency break. Makes sense?
And if
Makes sense.
Yeah,
but just before I have Mr. Casey, Mr. Desilets, and after Mr. Sanson.
At the end of next week, will we be finished with all of the witness panels on the employment study?
Yeah.
I wonder if one of those meetings in the first week back could be dedicated to drafting instructions on the employment study.
Yeah. Go. No, just a second. Yeah, she's gonna reply. No. Yeah, but just before, let's the clerk and.
I just want to fill in on the witness list for the study. So. The committee said 6 meetings, but we have more witnesses. So I can send the list to members of the committee of what we have planned for next Monday and Thursday. And after that, we still have, first of all, suggested witnesses by other witnesses that couldn't attend, which has been sent to you by correspondence. So maybe I can send that to the committee. But we have more witnesses than the 6 meetings that we have. We could continue, for example, because we do have people on the list, and that I can share it with the committee.
Yes, Ms. Bailey. A quick one, or I can, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes.
Well, just, with regards to Sean's comment, maybe what we could do if we were to look at that Monday, maybe if we wanted to look at 1 hour to do committee business for planning, and then 1 hour to do that would be, we could do them both in the same meeting, right?
Before Mr. Desilets.
Regardez, moi, ma préoccupation, c'est...
Well, my concern is the following. We had 6 meetings planned. This is our 3rd one. We have 3 left. Whether we keep going or not, well, this is my concern. We wanted to put this study in place. We'll need drafting instructions, the report, and so on. When are we going to see the report, in May or June? I'm bringing this up because this was a study that was very important to us. I completely agree, Mr. Casey also. But we heard the Deputy Minister last week or 10 days ago who said, when I asked the question, when is your national strategy going to come out? And he said clearly it'll be in the near future, so within a few months. So you can understand my concern. Are we working for no reason? Will the report come out before the tabling of the national strategy, or will all this be for nothing? So my question is, for the clerk, can we clearly know when things will happen? I know that's not easy. There's witnesses who appear, who disappear, but can we get an idea of when things will happen, and at worst, maybe inform the department that they should push back the coming out of their strategy? Well, what I can tell you at this stage, Mr. Desilets, is that the motion was adopted, was for 6 meetings, but if members decide to lengthen the study, we'd need to have a consensus among the members. So that's why, as many have suggested, at some point, we need to think about a committee meeting to plan the committee work to the best of our abilities. Before moving on to Ms. Blaney, there's Mr. Sanson who wanted to say something. Mr. Chair, that doesn't answer my question. I just don't see the time frame. When will the study be done? Whether it's 6 or 7 meetings, are we talking about March, the directives, the study, the review of the study, and then we'll be in June? So that's my question. My approach, Mr. Chair, was that we can check, and then we can get back to you about the timing issue, because I agree with you. Our report should be submitted, tabled, before final decisions are made. Right. Okay. While you have the floor, Mr. Sanson, you have the floor, and after that it will be Ms. Blaney. No, I'll give the floor to Ms. Blaney. Thank you for your kindness. Ms. Blaney.
Wisdom is increasing every day. I think that a lot of these conversations, I really appreciate what Luc brought up, but I think those discussions really belong with the subcommittee where we can talk about what next. And so I think we should finish the 2, have the subcommittee meeting, and then hopefully be able to present to the committee as a whole a plan that will get us through till the end of June.
Okay, perfect. So with the clerk, my understanding is we're going to invite more witnesses for this study for next week, Monday and Thursday. And after the break week, we will plan a subcommittee to discuss maybe the report, give instruction to the analysts, and other topics. Is that okay? Right. Madame Valdez.
I just wanted to answer Mrs. Blaney's question. I will be joining subcommittee.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Yeah. That's. OK, donc est-ce que ça convient?
All right, so does that work for everybody? Yes, we'll go on like that, right? So it was a good meeting. Thank you. Oh, the analyst has something to say? Just quickly, regarding the content and the amount of testimony, a report on the current study on the employment strategy was, as we can say, well, if we push it out there, it could be mid-April. Looking at the break weeks and so on, I don't see how we could get it out before mid-April. And even then, there could be estimates, budget, and so on that could, change the time frame. So it might be wiser to look into May.
C'est l'expérience qui parle.
That's his experience talking. Mr. Desilets. Well, I'll bring this up again. We had sound problems this time. We had some last time also. I don't understand. We still do sound checks. I'm not trying to put anybody on the hot seat, but we're doing sound checks. I mean, I just thought we looked strange to our witnesses. Yes, and good thing that we just had committee business afterwards so that we could take the time from the second hour. But the clerk and the technicians will be looking into that. We take these inconveniences seriously, and we will be working to make sure that if we are allowing people to appear virtually, that the technicians and everybody know that, and that the interpreters get the sound that they need to be able to provide interpretation. So we'll get back to this and talk about it this week. Let's hope everything will work out well for Thursday. So, dear members of the committee, yes, would it please you to adjourn? Yes, so allow me to thank the technical team, the interpreters, and the meeting is adjourned.